Well, hey there, Chris Westfall on the way to work this morning to the office. Just want to share a couple of thoughts with you that have happened in our agency this week, and other agents out in the country. Don't know who you are, but other agents have lost sales to my office, and I just want to pass on a couple of tips that might help you not lose sales in the future. One, assuming the criteria for the sale comes from the person on the other end of the phone. That is, when a senior particularly is going to get onto Medicare, they do a little bit of research. Some do a lot of research. Regardless, they seem to latch on to what they believe to be the most important criteria upon which to make their decision. Different things for different people. For some people who are afraid of financial loss, they zero in on the AM Best ratings. For other people, they zero in on the star ratings, even though they have nothing to do with Medicare supplements, and vice versa. And then other people still will latch on to things like, what is the price? Is the price the cheapest price in the market? That's all I'm interested in. Then another person will have the criteria of, well, what was their rate increase average over the last 3 years in 3 different states or whatever. The point is, or they'll just wonder, what kind of benefits does this company have versus another? And whatever benefit it is that they think is most important, they use that as the sole criteria upon which to base their entire decision on which carrier to get with. Now, it's important to remember that with a Medicare supplement, whatever decision that they make when they're brand new to Medicare, open enrollment, just starting Part B, or turning 65, that may be the company, as long as they stay with a Medicare supplement, that they get for life. They may get stuck with that company for life, and that is if their health can never qualify them to change plans to a different Medicare supplement carrier in the future, depending on their state, of course. So it's very important that the criteria upon which they look to make their big decision is set correctly. So many times a newer agent will listen to what the person is saying when they call in, and if the person says, this is what I'm looking for, I want the best AM Best rating on record, to say nothing of Moody's or Fitch or anybody else's financial ratings, they just are zeroed in for some reason on AM Best because probably Dave Ramsey told them that's the only thing to focus on or something ridiculous. Or other people, again, focused on just rate. It's incumbent upon you, the agent who knows the market, to have the big picture and to set the guidelines upon which a person should make that buying decision, because it is so critically important. So what I would suggest is that you have some piece of collateral available that you can just send over without any expectation, make it available to them on, for instance, here are the top 5 things you should consider when considering a Medicare supplement company. Yes, rate is in there, but it's definitely not number 1. Ratings are in there, but it's definitely not number 1 or 2. There are other things that are important based on tens of thousands of people that we've enrolled and the trends that we've seen over the last 20 years that we know are way more important than X. So I'm just going to send this over to you, and then we can have a conversation on what we feel is best, and with our professional recommendation, what we would refer you to as the best solution for what you've got there. Listening first, that's the most important thing. Listen to them, but then kind of guide them back into really what is most important. If I needed brain surgery, I would not go to a brain surgeon with what I read on WebMD last night and say, oh, based on what I read, this is the most important thing to look for. Really? Well, is WebMD updated? Did they go to medical school? Did they read all the new journals about what's been discovered since that article was written? Do they take into account your personal situation when they make that diagnosis and that recommendation? No. That's why you should trust an expert in that field that does it day in and day out without having to go get your insurance license yourself and become an expert, because you don't have to. That's what you're paying us for. Oh, but wait, you don't pay us anything. So setting the criteria for the sale is very important. Otherwise, you let them, or worse, you let your competition set the criteria that they're looking for. Whether the competition says all companies are completely the same, everything's exactly the same, don't worry about customer service, don't worry about length of time in the market, don't worry about number of covered lives to share the risk, don't worry about how many people answer the phone or none if it's outsourced to a third-party administrator, don't worry about all the criteria that you should be worried about. Another agent says, let's just go based on price, so they can just lock it down. Okay, that takes me to number 2. The biggest other takeaway why agents are losing people this week to my office is We had a lady call in from Connecticut, and she said, you know, I spoke to a couple other agents, and they said, even though I never go to the doctor, have never been to the doctor in 20 years, the agent said, you don't want a plan in because of excess charges. Excess charges could be $20,000. They could just rip you open with your bank account. You don't want excess charges. That's why you need Plan G, the Medicare Supplement Plan G. Or if you're over, you know, 68, 70 years old, whatever it is by the time you watch this video, if you could have purchased Plan F, and you still can because you were eligible for Medicare prior to 2020, you could sell them Plan F and say, it covers everything. Simple, 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 sign here, that's what you want. And the problem there is sowing the seed of doubt based on a false narrative that there is, first of all, a problem with excess charges, which there's not. A recent study from Aetna found that less than 3% of claims have excess charges in them, and they're typically found with psychiatrists and podiatrists, hardly ever experienced, and when it is, it's very negligible, like less than $10. But for that, for a person to consider that as their primary and only thing, they're going to pay $20 to $40 a month more for a plan that also contains with that plan, inherent with a Plan G, or Plan F even worse, you know, 10 to 20% rate increases per year, as compared to the Plan N, which across the country is seeing 0 to maybe 5% rate increase per year. Multiply that experience over the next 3 to 5 to 10 years that a person, or 20, is going to be on Medicare for the next season, and that's very significant and something that they really should be drawn to. However, the agent, again, tried to sell based on fear and used as the sole criteria, oh my gosh, don't be exposed to excess charges. What the agent failed to take into account was, first, the state was Connecticut. And many call center agents are licensed in a whole litany of states, and they become an expert in none. You heard of that old phrase? That's so bright in the window. Sorry about that. Block that out. Oh, look at there. You've heard the old phrase, jack of all trades and master of none. Well, that's what happens, unfortunately, when a whole swath of states are added to a call center agent's repertoire, and they become an expert in absolutely nothing, as was the case in this situation with Connecticut. Any agent with any experience will understand that Connecticut is one of 9 states that is signed on to what they call the Medicare overcharge measure rule, and it's actually codified in Connecticut state law, where providers are not allowed to charge in excess of what Medicare allowable charges are. Now, there's actually a stipulation in Connecticut law, most people don't know this, that if you make an income as a single person of $48,000 per year or less, or over $50,000 for a couple, then you're protected by what's known affectionately as the mom situation, where overcharges cannot happen, excess charges are not allowed. However, in practice, that income amount threshold was supposed to be set and changed every year since 2014, when the law became the law, by the Commissioner of Social Services in Connecticut. However, it never has been. The current commissioner's office has no idea what that even means. So in practicality, what that means is providers have gotten used to the fact that, well, the law says we shouldn't charge excess charges based on an income threshold, and the doctors are not set up or any routines built in to ask what the person's income level is. They just don't charge excess charges in the state of Connecticut, or the other 9 states, Pennsylvania, and a whole bunch of them. So the agent selling in that state on that call with that person did not factor in the fact that, okay, my sales rep is, I'm just going to go ahead and say excess charges are bad, excess charges are bad, you need Plan G, it's simple, 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 sign here, here's the rate. Literally in this case, it was $45 a month more for this lady who hasn't been to the doctor in 20 years. Her likelihood of going to the doctor and getting an excess charge in any other state is almost negligible, but then in the state where they're illegal, it's absolutely 0. So the agent did not take into account her personal situation or where she was at all. So the lady calls us for a second opinion. Hey, I called an agent. He said everybody should go with Plan G. Here's the rate for Plan G. Take it, leave it, whatever. Well, unfortunately, in a year 2022 and beyond, seniors are more savvy now than ever, and they're likely to go online and find conflicting information from the lazy sales job that somebody might have done, and like in this case, and learn, they eat of the knowledge of good and evil, and they're like, wait a minute, what? There's another plan out there. I don't have to pay for the most expensive plan in the market that has the highest, comparatively, rate increases of any other plan currently being sold in the market today. There's an alternative. And the agent should have been asking me, how many times do I go to the doctor? What kind of doctors do I see? How is my health overall? And taking that into an account before giving a recommendation. But no, just a blanket recommendation of, here's my hammer, so everything looks like a nail. So I would just caution an agent who is giving that kind of a rap to everyone out there, regardless of their situation, and telling them, this is the plan for you. And I understand with captive agents, those are agents who work for one particular company and they can't sell anything but that one company. It becomes difficult when you have to fit round holes in a square pegs, or whatever it is. You have to put everybody into something that your company has. I understand that. But it does not do any good for the client, and overall it does not do any good for your business to try to give the same exact solution to every single person in the market. It will hurt you. That's why I don't think it's a good idea to be a captive agent in the beginning. It will hurt your growth from what you otherwise would have had access to. So, again, I would not have the same spiel for everybody, and I would listen to people, and I would set the criteria upon which the person should be looking, because then you completely change the conversation from what maybe another agent has started. And especially an agent who's not taken the time to listen to their individual experience. Now, you might say, as an agent who might be commission driven, but wait, if I sell a plan N plan, will I make less than I would if I sold a plan G? And multiply it out, if I sold 100 plan G plans compared to that same book of business where I had sold 100 plan N plans, wouldn't I make overall a lot less money? In my experience, and I've been through a lot in this industry, I can tell you that if you do the right thing for the client and you take the time to ask them questions about how your recommendation will ultimately impact them, and that sun block will be there in just a minute as I turn over the Rabbit Hole Bridge here, I promise, then the business will take care of itself. And that's just not a colloquialism where you're just saying, oh, do the right thing and everything works out. What I'm telling you is, if you differentiate yourself from every commission breath agent who's just trying to sell the most expensive thing, because number one, they make more commission. Number two, it's more simple to sell, like Plan G for everybody. Or a PPO plan for everybody because it's the best thing in the market for absolutely everyone. Your business will suffer more so than if you took an approach of, let's do the best thing for you. And I'm not just saying philosophically do that. I'm saying to incorporate that in your presentation to the client. Explain to them why you want to take the time to ask questions. Explain to them that this is not a cookie cutter type of industry or product. Not the same product is going to be the same for everyone. So let me ask you some questions and then make a recommendation based on your specific situation. Now, if you refer your neighbor to me, if you refer your sister, your brother, your mother, your father to me, and I'm doing a consultation with them about their needs, their recommendation might be altogether different. You know, we've had people call in years later and say, wait, why did you recommend this plan to my sister and you recommended that plan to me? And the difference is, everyone's situation is different. We can't get into the health history of what a person was going through that led us down the path of making the recommendation that this plan that included more might have been a better fit. But if you never ask the questions, you never tell them why you're asking the questions, then you're just like everybody else and you are not memorable. You have not engaged in a pattern interrupt behavior that makes yourself stand out in the marketplace other than just a product peddler. And there is a much better way than being just a product peddler. Then you're seen as an expert that they are proud then to recommend to other people. They're proud to recommend you because you are a professional, not a salesperson. So no matter where you are in your business development growth, I just encourage you to set the criteria based on being an expert Spend the time to do your due diligence on any company that you represent and any company that you don't represent. If they're showing up in the quote engine, you should be an expert in that company. Who owns it? Are they run out of a P.O. box in Florida or Salt Lake City? Are they outsourcing their customer service? Who is their reinsurance carrier? Basically, how many lives do they have insured across the country? How many people are you going to spread that risk over? How long have they been in the market? Is this their first year in this market? Does that matter if it's just a national company that merely changed their name? And how does that impact the future viability of that rate stability? Those are things that you should know. And if you're going to be an expert in your field, you don't need to be taken back by sending somebody a quote and they come back and say, hey, why aren't you recommending XYZ company that started yesterday that under the ratings column has none listed? You should know that and be able to talk to your recommendation and be able to talk against the recommendation from someone else that might not be a good fit or might not be suitable for your client. I'm telling you, if you've done the background work to know your industry well enough to know the good versus the bad, not bad, the good versus the not perfect fit for somebody else. Melanie in my office always uses the term, the most cost-effective for your particular situation. There are a lot of companies, there are a lot of products out there, but I really believe this one, based on what you've told me, is the most cost-effective solution for your particular situation. And again, caveat, this might be different from your neighbor. This might be different from your sister. But we believe on taking the approach of doing the right thing for each client, not the same thing for everybody. I'm telling you, if you'll take that approach, yes, it's a longer sales cycle for each person, but you're going to get a heck of a lot more referrals from other people because you took the time to actually listen to them. And the lady from Connecticut said to our person, thank you for taking the time to explain this to me after listening and asking me questions. The other agent that, by the way, she'd already signed up with on a Plan G never even listened. And then she went online and learned more information, learned more things that she should be asking. And so when she called in and gave us the opportunity to talk to her about her situation, she came to the conclusion that over the next 5 years, she'd be out almost $1,000 in difference, regardless of anything else. That's just in the premiums alone, not even factoring in the rate increase that we know is going to happen because of that plan. And again, there's no one solution for anybody, for everybody, for the market. Just got to listen to them. Set the criteria, tell them what they should be looking for, and don't be like the other agents. If you think of, in your mind, who is that avatar of the dirtbag, cheesy, sleazy agent that listens for 5 seconds, just enough to get enough information for the quote engine, and then just gives a diagnosis of, yep, you need this plan. That's the plan for you. You need this plan. Well, okay, are you sure about that? Yep, let's get you enrolled right now. Let's do it. One call close. Let's get it going. You think about the worst possible agent that you would want for your mom or for anybody that you really care about. And you think, you know what? I'm going to do the exact opposite of that. I'm going to be the person that they are proud to recommend to their audience, to anybody, their friends and family that are approaching Medicare or having a Medicare problem or thinking about changing their broker because they never have heard from their broker or they've had a really bad experience with their Medicare product. You want to be that go-to person that makes that much of an impact that they are like, whoa, that's my guy or that's my girl. Because I see the reviews that are coming through in our agency, and consistently that's what's said over and over again, is they made a memorable impact because they took the time to listen to their situation, and then they made a recommendation that was a perfect fit, and they explained to the client why. So they go away as an informed consumer, and they go away as a raving fan that tell other people about it. So I hope this will impact you and your business. I promise you it will if you take the time to invest enough in your business that you understand the market, the pros and the cons of everybody that's currently in the market, because you'll need to defend one day your recommendation, and you'll need to sell away from the cheapest brand new entrant into the market repeatedly. And if you get good at that, if you anticipate ahead of time those things that people are going to come back to you and say, wait a minute, I found on some website somewhere that I can get this cheap plan that started yesterday. You better know why you made a recommendation before you even make it. And that time is developed, that expertise is developed when you're taking time to do it outside of the 9 to 5 or 9 to 7 or whenever it is that you're working on the phone actually helping people. Develop the expertise, set yourself apart, make yourself different from everybody who's just trying to sling product out there, especially the same product for every single person. I'm Chris Westfall, got a little website called MedicareAgentTraining.com, MedicareAgentTraining.com, where we actually documented our growth from a one-man shop to a tens of $1 million sold agency, and we're helping agents across the country to continue to do the same and build their business. God bless you. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.